It's the final one for the week, the month, and the year 2021. So we promise you a memorable 55 minutes of business morning. Good morning and welcome. I'm Ini John Mekwa. Well, we cannot do but give you updates from the global oil space now. Prices slid today, but we're set to post their biggest annual gains in 12 years, spurred by global economic recovery from the COVID-19 slump and producer restraints, even as infections surged to record highs around the world. Brent crude futures fell by 86 cents to $78.67 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell 80 cents to $76.19 a barrel. Analysts expect OPEC Plus to stick to their plan to add 400,000 barrels per day of supply each month when they meet on the 4th of January, just a couple of days away, and they continue to win back sharp production cuts implemented in 2020. Meanwhile, the World Bank says it expects global crude oil prices to average $74 per barrel in 2022, and that's up from a projected $70 per barrel this year, 2021. In its latest commodity market outlook for 2022, the International Finance Institution attributes the projection to strengthening oil demand, which is forecast to reach pre-pandemic levels, while natural gas and coal prices expected to fall next year as production constraints ease. The World Bank report further mentions that although global oil production is expected to increase as OPEC and its partners unwind their production cuts, investment shortfalls in new production, including U.S. shale, remain an upside risk. It's a special edition of the program today. I promise you we have conversations and a little bit of excitement, but that'll be after the break. Stick with us here. It's Business Morning on Channels Television. You're welcome back. Well, we attempt to capture major conversations in the economic space in 2021 through some words that shaped, a whole lot of discussions, conversations, interviews, and of course, government policies. To elaborate and share his thoughts on these issues is Mr. Paul Alaje, senior economist and partner at SPM Professionals. Good to speak with you, Mr. Alaje. To end the show with you,
thank you so
nice
much.
Pleasure.
Compliments of the season.
Wish you the same.
And Happy New Year in advance.
We wish you the same. Just a couple of hours away, so we're here already, by God's grace. Okay, so one major word we kept hearing in the economic space this year was borrowing. So when you hear borrowing, for instance, in Nigeria, what does it mean to you? What comes to your mind?
Well, borrowing generally means to take something on credit. But in finance, it refers to loan. To go collect facility, maybe I use another term, but to collect loan with the hope that the monies will be paid later. It's different from grants when repayment is not expected. So when you look at the Nigerian space, an economic space, something that become a major component of our national budget, which is our largest fiscal document year on year, every year, is borrowing. So government, as at March this year, according to Debt Management Office, our our stock in terms of borrowing, debt stock, had increased to about 33.1 trillion. That's a lot of money. And we are even still planning to borrow more. Just last week, the president had sent requests to the National Assembly, and fresh loans were approved. So we keep borrowing, and you see, people ask, is borrowing good or bad? For me, it's neither good nor bad. It depends on what you do with the money, the impact of borrowing, and our ability to pay. Generally, economics have three conditions. If you must borrow, and you can decide whether such borrowing is good or bad. The first thing is, what is debt to GDP? Nigerian government increased debt to GDP this year from 25% to 40%, because obviously we're now surpassing the target that was set by Debt Management Office documents, which was done 2015 and later in 2019, which ended 2015 and ended 2019. So debt to GDP, because of this movement, is still allowable. The next is, service, that's debt service to revenue. Now, according to one of the media houses in Nigeria, I don't want to mention them, they ran a research and discovered that the first 5 months of this year, Nigeria spent 1.8 trillion naira to service debt. That was equivalent, within the same period, equivalent of 98% of our revenue. So we have 2% left. Will it be good for us to keep borrowing, knowing fully well that we will service? The last one is the impact of debt. Now, when you look at average, the debt on the average, how our debt profile has grown, on the average, we have about 14 to 20%. What has happened to our economy? How has it grown? On the average, about 2%. Therefore, we say that the impact of debt is really not felt within our economy. Because when you say you are growing, you are borrowing on the average the last 5 years by about 14% to be charitable. But the economy has grown on the average by less than 2%. We know we have a lot to worry about.
So where is the funds? Where are they going to?
So when we borrow, because we are also emaciating our currency, what we borrow locally, the rates with which we pay are high. In fact, sometimes, if you want to run proper analysis, we might have even be borrowing to repay, borrowing to pay salaries. So the impact will not be there. Less than 20% of Nigeria are working with government.
And then we have the 2022 budget with also a huge deficit, which suggests
that we will keep borrowing. And the truth is, until we are able to do something meaningful with our revenue, the challenge is that we will continue to borrow. This year, world leaders met and said we need to do something about the environment. And Nigeria may be copied, even though we are not #1 in the world, #2, or among the first top 5 countries in terms of emission, but because what continues to occur in our budget is fossil fuel. And how much we are going to export in order for us to get revenue in USD, and this has major impact on our foreign reserve. So should we say that we should keep doing the same thing? I expect changes to come. The world is not waiting for us. We have started seeing electric vehicles, I beg your pardon.
Yes.
Electric vehicles coming all around the world, especially in the US and Europe. But we have seen that China has also started producing electric vehicles. What is the fate of Nigerian production? In the next 25 years, would we still keep exporting the way we have it today? Again, we are also saying that Nigeria business is building the largest refinery.
Talking about refinery, I think that takes us to a second word. A second word is subsidy. I mean, that also has, I know it even extends to 2022 because the first 6 months is supposed to have subsidy, and then after that it's supposed to be full deregulation and all that, and subsidy really occurred this year. Should we do without subsidy?
Well, subsidy itself is government initiative in form of financial aid to businesses, household, or to another government, as the case may be. So subsidy in Nigeria is evident. The one most Nigerians know about is the one that the government gives on PMS. And I have seen government over the years, not first, not second, not 3 governments, that have said they want to remove subsidy. But it seems to be very difficult for even government because of response, not just of labor, but the entire population of the country. Now, government have said the best thing to do is to remove subsidy. We know. But the foundation is very faulty. How do you remove subsidy? And we need to pay attention to this. How do we remove subsidy without having a meaningful supply, a dependable supply? So you have a population of about 206 million people. We know we are not all using vehicles, but those that don't have vehicles, they use commercial vehicles. Apart from that,
they have generators.
And they have generators. Even if you say the poor of the poor cannot afford generators. But the truth is, which is the argument we need to present very well, even if a rich man has 4 cars or 5 cars, the poor man has 0 car, but he wants to move his goods from his farm to the city center or the neighboring space, the 100 naira he will pay, the impact of the 100 naira is more important to him than the man that will fill his car with 6,000 naira. Because what is left is what matters. Out of 100 naira, what is left maybe 50 naira. Meanwhile, the man with 6,000 naira, the proportion of 6,000 naira to his income is very minimal. So that is what economics think about. So
you know, I think we should not just think of the fuel subsidy. We also have electricity subsidy. I mean, we talked a lot about.
I will even go there. I will get there. I'm only starting with fuel subsidy. So should government remove subsidy? For me and that of our organization, in a research conducted, we believe subsidy should only be removed when we have supply locally. And that means local producers in form of private sector, or government wants to revamp the 4 refineries that have refused to work, or we build substantial number of modular refineries. We also have Dangote refineries. When we have, and there will be a time when it will be right to remove subsidy for federal government. That time will be at a point where our output, that is local production in terms of output, equate what Nigeria consumes daily. If that does not happen, we will throw more people into poverty, more people will be deprived, and more people will be out of food and out of jobs. You know why? Because there will be high inflation. And this inflation will be so much so that IMF reported the kind of inflation when our inflation rate went to for the second time in a short while, 18%, that about 6 or 7 million Nigerians might have been thrown into poverty because of high inflation. So for us to avoid taking more people into poverty, what the attention of government should be is, how do we make more refineries to work? Dangote refineries is coming mainstream, but it is not sufficient. You know why? If you say it's only Dangote refinery, this is what happens. Look at what is happening in Lagos mainland. No, Lagos mainland and island. In mainland, the only electric company you have is Ikeja Electric. What if I don't want to use Ikeja Electric? What do I do? Monopoly. On the island, what do I use? Eko Electric. In Abuja, AEDC. If I don't want to use AEDC, do I connect cable from Eko in Lagos, Eko Electric in Lagos Island, and take it to Abuja?
Theoretically, I mean, we're told that is possible. You can actually choose which disco you want to work with, but I know practically...
Oh, no, okay, so... Practically... Okay. So I mean, I live in Ikeja. So from Ikeja, I want to use Eko Electric. So I will go from VI and extend cable across Tomiland Bridge or Eko Bridge. It does not make sense. What we are doing is simply monopolistic in nature. So if those guys, if the different disco owners come together and say they want to increase price, what would you do? Nothing. So the same thing may happen to refinery. If you allow one person to start a refinery and we now want to close the border and say we are not importing again, we need to have substitutes. And that is competition. The market, the space must be free. As we are going into 2022, I hear government say it's looking at giving 5,000 naira to about 40 million poor people. It looks good, but where? Do they have BVN? Because people with BVN are less than 6 million, unique BVN. We want to give 40 million people in the remotest parts where there are no banking presence, where most of these people live. So why can't we give such money to those that want to build modular refineries within 9 to 18 months and give them target, and this money is loan, the first thing we discuss. So they will pay government back with certain interest, and we would have achieved our supply side, supply of oil to interact with the demand so that we can have an effective equilibrium.
Okay, Mr. Alaji, let's move to another word now. There was also price hike. That was also very common this year.
So increase in price is different from price hike. To increase price means you keep price by certain price, but price hike is sudden increase, most of the time very high. And you see with electricity consumption, people have complained about price hike. When inflation went to about 18%, Nigeria continued to complain about price hike. And it's not only price that is hike, it could even be tax hike. So when you have hike, it means the population is not expecting it and it's very high. And if you remove subsidy, with my experience, even price hike, not only on PMS, but across the sector.
And then devaluation was also one very common word.
Devaluation...
Especially in the FX space.
Yes, devaluation was, we may define it as reduction in terms of value of a country's currency. Nigeria, as an economy, we have devalued our currency between 2020, June, to December this year, about 4 times. And I'm talking of official rate. But when you go to the other side, the parallel market, you even wonder what the rate is. About 500, 560, 570. That's what you see on the other side. So when we say we devalue, or technically speaking, because people don't hear this very well, government may say we want to emaciate the value of a currency. We are also talking about devaluation. So governments and authorities have devalued. And why do we devalue? Because central bank does not print foreign currency. So when we don't have enough support in our foreign reserve, I'm sure that we have seen central bank also getting worried because we are not receiving enough. Why? Because we don't produce enough.
We saw a lot of interventions. We saw the naira to dollar policy, the dollar to naira policy,
giving extra 5 naira.
Yes, we saw the Bureau de Change also getting a knock.
So central bank did a lot to save the soul of naira from getting emaciated. And I must say this, Governor Emefiele administration, it's trying best possible, from my understanding. It's just that we don't produce enough. And you could read the trade report by National Bureau of Statistics. We spend close to 400 billion naira every quarter to import not vaccine, antibiotics. We have pharmacies, we have doctors, we have research organizations.
We have laboratories.
We have
pharmaceutical companies
everywhere. But we still import antibiotics. And this is not my figure. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, in the trade report, the last released trade report, even the one before that. So we keep importing. If you go out of this place, and people that are watching their screen right now, that's those that are not, I'm even assuming that people are not watching on YouTube and they're in a vehicle. Check the brand of vehicle. And I've also jokingly said, women, check their heads. They are human, but still import human hair. But they are human beings. So we keep importing like no tomorrow. The paper we use, what exactly do we produce? Some people impregnate their wives in Nigeria. They fly the woman and import their children back. And we have paid health bills. So these are the things that are responsible, because each time you import, you are taking 3 decisions. The first decision is you consume your product. You are happy. The second decision is that you are going to reduce your foreign reserve, because central bank needs to respond. The third, which is the most important decision, is that you will take job out of Nigeria and you will give the country that you are importing from more jobs.
Implication. Do you see these words trending again in 2022?
Say it again.
Do you see these words we have discussed? The borrowing, the subsidy, price hike, devaluation.
They will all trend in 2022, and some of them may even trend more. The price hike may lead to protests. That is my concern. I just hope that it will not. If government must even remove subsidy, it should not come in form of hike. It may come in form of increase. Partial removal, maybe 10%, so that it does. If you say you are removing and you want demand and supply to adjudicate price, it's like organizing a boxing competition and say Anthony Joshua versus Mr. Macaroni should fight themselves in a boxing. You know what the implication will be? That is why we should not say demand and supply when we are really not going to, produce anything.
We don't have control over the supply.
We don't have. And it's not just that. Exchange rate. Over 10 years, what has happened to exchange rate? In the last 20 years, what has happened to exchange rate? So if we say that we want demand and supply to adjudicate prices, exchange rate risk, and cost of transport, taking out and bringing back to our country.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Paul Alaje, senior economist and partner at SPM Professionals. Well, exploring these words, I know we have a whole lot more. Like you said, looks like they're going to trend again in 2022. So we still have a lot of discussion to do on this. Thank you so much, and Happy New Year. I would like to say that because I don't think I'll see you in a couple of hours. All right. So those were some of the words that form conversations. A whole lot more, I know. As you're sitting at home, I know you have some other words on your mind. But after the break, we will look into other words. These will be words that resonated with economic conversations in the markets. We'll go to the market. They also have their own words, and that will be after the break. It's Business Morning on Channels Television. It's a special episode of Business Morning on Channels Television. Why not? It's the last one for the year. So let's see some words that made conversations at the markets, the different markets that we cover. We have Will. Hello, Will.
Elaine, good morning.
Good morning.
This year brought so many surprises and shaped up the investor sentiment. And for a timely reminder for 2021, we're doing things differently this last day in December, like you mentioned earlier. As you mentioned earlier, the eve of the new year, 2021, and Ambrose Omodion, Chief Research Officer, Invest Data Consulting Limited, will be joining us today on the show. Now, heading to the new year, investors need to remember both the highs and the lows of 2021's wild ride. Analysts say stock prices are heading higher, but they caution that there's likely to be continued volatility in 2022, as well as potential for surprises. However, for 2021, these three words resonated with the market in this year. We have earnings, acquisitions, and oversubscription. So we have Ambrose. Ambrose, we had a flurry of earnings this year. What do you say about that?
Actually, you see, the market for 2021 was a mixed market and also a lot of sentiment also in the market. But at the end of the day, as you just said, the three words that really drove the market or shaped the market was the earnings, acquisition, and also oversubscription in terms of primary market activities. But the good thing is that the earnings that came from corporate companies were really impressive. And that also is sign for investors that if your company where you invested money has kind of produce a good number, you support their payout at the end of the year. Put the number that came from Vitafoam during the week, also an insight of what has happened for their own financial ended September. Vitafoam is declaring 1 naira 50 kobo against 70 kobo they paid the previous year. This is more than 100% growth in their own dividend for the year. That means for those that were seeing their third quarter already, it's giving an insight what you expect as an investor in this company, because these are the numbers that supported the market in the year under review 2021. For me, I think for investors in Nigeria, despite the ups and downs in the market, the mixed trend and the mixed performance, we still have confidence that at the end of the year, most of the companies on the exchange will pay us a good dividend that will support their price. As you just said that rightly, that in the year 2022, might see also a volatile market. Then
they also had acquisitions. Acquisitions was yet another word that bounced around in 2021. What would you say? How would you say the words shaped the market and influenced investors' sentiment in the market?
Yeah, I will tell you it was a good thing for the Nigerian Stock Exchange or the economy at large, because most of the companies coming together, they are becoming a larger and a bigger company that will support their bottom line at the end of the day. Not only that, the news of the merger and acquisition was just in the market. Prices of these stocks were also creeping when the investor was trading the sentiment, trading the news. For that, many of these stocks that are going through the acquisition and merger, you see most of them close higher than the beginning of the year because of the news of merger and acquisition, and also expecting that at the end of the year or the new year, we'll see a better number for this company. Now they have merged to become a bigger company. Despite the challenges that come with merger and acquisition, but we that most of them will overcome those challenges that come with merger. And at the end of the day, we are seeing a better number because they are becoming a bigger company. That also further support investors. That's why when this merger news came to the market, there was a positive reaction by investors, taking immediate profit from the news, and also expecting that in the future, this merger also boosts this company performance. At the end of the day, we'll see a better number that also supports price, because anytime, any day, it's earnings that support price, and sources like mergers and acquisitions that also support price at the end of the day.
So we can't let this conversation go without saying the word oversubscribe. We saw a lot of that, or we heard a lot of that in 2021. How would you say, what were the transactions that had the word oversubscribe rolling around?
I agree with you. No, I will tell you, the position is just across the market. From equity market to the bond market, oversubscription here and there. It tells you that there's money in this, country to invest. Especially those that understand, what it is to invest. But when you are investing, you are showing to the future. For you to show oversubscription in this company, that means that Nigerians are really interested in putting down their money. But the good thing is that for the equity market, we know what MTN did towards the end of the year when they came with their offer for sale. Because of the nature even of the marketing style of MTN, that's really kind of a positive sentiment from investing public. That stuff, as it is now, the price is up, and I see potential in that company due to some activities that are going to support their cash flow. At the end of the day, for me, that is part of the oversubscription news that is in the market today. For the bond aspect, the sukuk aspect, says that many fund managers are yet to change their stereotype, risk to reward strategy. I will tell you, they are all looking the way of bond just because of their risk management. But I tell you, many of us that are in the equity market have made more returns in the market than those that are in bond. But because of the nature of most investors that don't want to take risks, because the fund managers and all that are still kind of looking at the stock, that they're looking at bonds. Actually, saw a lot of participation in the board during the year. For me, it's also a good thing for the market because you don't stay in one market, you balance your portfolio in equity, in bonds, in the few other fixed income instruments, so that you can have a good portfolio. For me, it's a good thing for the year 2021.
We're looking for more wins in 2022 and hoping to see more oversubscribed and probably more mergers and acquisitions to consolidate the market. Thank you so much, Ambrose Omodion, is the Chief Research Officer at Invest Data Consulting Limited. So we're just going to end with the market yesterday. We had a bullish run yesterday, slightly up 0.01%. And we're hoping that this positive performance, this is the end of the last day of 2021. We're hoping that we start, 2022. Maybe today's trading will be positive. Then we start 2022 on a positive note as well. That's what we have for the market, and we're just keeping our fingers crossed for a better, for a better market.
It's 2022 or 2021.
Yes,
we're back here, and we're back here for business, even though, there's a public holiday that day. Thank you so much, Will. I know we're going to talk later on the show, so Thank you for now. Let's take a breather. So now we also have some words outside the shores of Nigeria. So we're heading to London now, where we have Juliana joining us with some words. UK had some very interesting words that I think are still on up till now. Some words that capture, what's going on there. Hello, Juliana. Okay, the very interesting word, I think one of them that really comes to my mind is pingdemic. That's one very interesting word that we had coming from the UK in 2021. But I know Juliana, she has. And then in Europe, generally, we had the transitory. And then we're coming to talk about whether we need to redefine the word transitory, because we talked about transitory so much, it was becoming permanent. And then we're asking, okay, so at what point does it become transitory and what time does it become really transitory and things like that. But Juliana is always filled with information to give us some practical examples of some of these words. Hello, Juliana. Good morning.
Good morning, Innie. Good morning, everybody. Oh, my goodness, I can't believe
it's the last one.
December. Goodness, we've made it.
Yeah, we did. We actually did, in spite of everything. So we have some interesting words that we know will capture the atmosphere of conversations in the year. A major one is transitory. I think at a point we're talking about redefining this word.
Do you know what, Innie? I think you've hit the nail on the very small head. Transitory was the term that I think most central bank governors across the world will be having sleepless nights about. I think really we've got to look across the pond to Washington, to Jerome Powell, the head of the US Federal Reserve, who I think was probably the first central bank governor to use that term. Of course, when you talk about transitory, we're talking about inflation. Inflation, I believe, has reached about 6.8% in the US, which is the highest it's been since the early 1980s. At the moment in the UK, it's at 5.1%. Lots of the central bank governors were saying, nothing to see here. This is what's going to be expected. We know that there are huge backlogs at ports all over the world, not just at the ports in Lagos, but everywhere. And because of the backlog, because of the pandemic, because of staff shortages, because of sickness, just because of the bureaucracy at the borders, I think a lot of global markets and central bankers did think that it was a passing phase. Once the lockdowns would be lifted, prices would begin to go down. That's not happened. The 5.1% we're seeing here in the UK at the moment wasn't even predicted until next year, April. Now we're starting to see that inflation could rise to as much as 6%. Yes, it is starting to trickle down on consumers. So you're right. I think that's one word, one term that needs to be left in 2021 because there's no such thing as transitory, clearly.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it delves into 2022. And then there was the supply chain disruption. Manufacturers in Europe, UK, we had supply chain disruption. Having different faces in different parts of UK, Europe, and everywhere.
Absolutely. I think you know what it's like when you work in the business world. Lots of the terms and the topics you talk about, nobody in the ordinary world understands them. But I think when it was McDonald's that put out a statement in the UK saying that it had run out of bottled drinks and milkshakes, I think people did start to panic and people started to realize that actually, you know, what we're seeing and commentating on isn't just affecting the elite and those with lots of cash in the bank. It's affecting ordinary people. That's when it manifested itself first in the UK. Then, of course, who can forget the fuel shortage that we saw during the summer? There were queues upon queues at the petrol. Really embarrassing memes of people trying to put petrol in plastic bags back of their car. Yeah, it was really crazy. I think a lot of this, when it comes to the supply chain, was hysteria. In the UK, at the very least, yes, it was a major issue. But of course, as soon as you scream that there's an issue, people are going to panic. So a lot of it was panic buying. But the supply chain disruptions still exist. But I did get my girls a milkshake at McDonald's on the weekend. So alas, some things are working well.
Yeah, and then we had Pingdemic.
Yes, pingdemic, a term that unfortunately in the UK may actually transition into the new year. Pingdemic was a new term. I wonder if it's going to be put into the Oxford English Dictionary, possibly, because it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. It first began because if you were out and about and you had been in contact with somebody who had recently tested positive with COVID, you would be pinging. Everybody was getting pings everywhere. Pingdemic was a huge issue because, of course, if one person in an establishment has COVID and they've been, you know, interacting with 30 or 40 people, all of those 30 or 40 people have to isolate. That's what was happening in offices and hospitality establishments around the country. So that was a buzz term. Now there's a huge worry that pingdemic may actually return because we know 183,000 people earlier in the week tested positive for COVID. Of course, those 183,000 people know somebody who knows somebody. How many people are going to be able to go back into the office? Not a major problem at the moment because we know millions of people are working from home, but I think pingdemic, is a term we are going to be carrying into the new year.
Yeah, looks that way. Well, Juliana, thank you so much. But we have one more before we say see you next year. So we'll talk to you later at 1:30.
Thanks, Innie.
So the crypto space, they also have their words. I think Ladi likes to call it the buzzwords. The buzzwords for 2021.
Yeah, the crypto market wasn't left out. We had a couple of buzzwords this year. Very interesting year for cryptocurrencies with the metaverse and all of that. But looking at the market today, we're seeing quite a bounce there. We're having Bitcoin making some moves this morning. Let's just look at the market cap there. We see $2.22 trillion, up 1.07%. Volume traded is a little lower this morning at 9%. Bitcoin price, 47,420. At this hour, it's about $48,000. And we see Ethereum there still below the 4,000 mark at $3,743. And we also have our words that resonated in the crypto space. Let's bring in Olumide Additional now, financial market analyst. Great to have you, Olumide. Hello, Olumide.
Yeah, good morning, Raji. Yeah.
Good morning, Olumide. Great to have you. So we're looking at words that resonated in the crypto space for 2021. One of them, metaverse. Tell us about this.
Yeah, metaverse, in simple terms, just the rumor Web 3.0, or what people call the virtual environment, where we've seen that space and gaining so much momentum. Talk about virtual games. We've seen the likes of Oculus, work productivity streaming online. And that's why, surprisingly, you've seen a trillion-dollar company having to change its name towards that acronym Meta. I'm talking about Facebook. And that just gives the credence the fact that the world is moving towards virtual. You know, COVID-19 has disrupted the work environment, the entertainment industry, including sports. And people have now seen how productivity can work with virtual reality. And that is where Metaverse comes into play. And I think coming in relationship with the crypto market, we've seen the likes of Mana, We've seen the likes of Sandbox. We've seen the likes of Axie gaining thousands of percent as these metaverse tokens gain momentum. People now are more interested in intellectual ownership of things on digital space. We've seen virtual lands. We've seen virtual games. We've seen so much even in the productivity space, like I mentioned earlier. So I think it's something interesting, but people need to understand that there are still growing concerns around the metaverse based on the fact that if you understand Jack Dorsey, one of the co-founders of Twitter, highlighted the fact that he sees the acronyms coming on the advantage of venture capital trying to monetize this. But there are things you cannot take away. The world is going virtual. The world is going digital. But we feel that it's not going to be as fast as people are anticipating, because right now they're still facing certain disruption on internet services around the world. We still have great numbers of African countries that don't really have broadband services. The world hasn't gotten access to high bandwidth facilities.
Okay.
So I think the growing intensity would take a gradual process. But interestingly, metaverse has gained momentum in 2021.
Well, quite. Maybe we can look maybe to the next 5 or 10 years before we see it actually, take a space in the market. But another word, regulation. America, there was a lot of regulation talk
regulation.
there.
In simple terms, you can't take that away, since the fact that the crypto market is another financial asset class, and you understand that the financial industry traditionally is regulated. Though over the years, we've seen that crypto has not faced the kind of regulation that many crypto pundits would have expected, based on the fact of the decentralized nature of the crypto market. But I think that narrative is already changing, because right now we're already seeing some crypto assets facing regulatory crossfires. I'm talking of XRP, for example, which has a pending case on whether the sold securitized to unregistered, an unregistered security sold to U.S. investors, and that case is still pending. So the outcome of that case will definitely set the tone on many crypto assets. So that is an interesting case to watch. But I think the future for the crypto market is strong regulation, especially in the stable coin sector. We're already seeing that the U.S. Treasury, Janet Yellen, has already created a committee that has submitted the framework guidelines on stablecoin, which might come out early next year. So that's going to be seen. You understand the importance stablecoins have in the crypto market. So it will be very interesting to see how that plays out. But I think when you look at country per country, I think the Chinese has already set the precedence that crypto is not welcome in their country. The Indians are trying to look at the blockchain advantage. So it's a win-lose situation on how to regulate crypto assets without destroying the blockchain infrastructure. In Africa's biggest economy, I'm talking of Nigeria, we've seen that the CBN has retreated the stance on crypto, that doesn't want any business with crypto assets in their ecosystem. But I think that has really changed the narrative in the fact that if you look at data from InfoTools on that tracks P2P Bitcoin trading, it shows that Nigeria still commands the lead in Bitcoin transactions. And also, we've seen influx of capital coming in for many Nigerian-based startups around that space.
Okay, Olumide. Well, regulation, one to watch for next year. And we also had CBDCs, but we've run out of time, Olumide. Thank you so much. All right, Edie, looking at CBDCs, obviously, Nigeria broke the record there.
E-Naira,
first in Africa.
Yes.
The E-Naira. So, these were the buzzwords of 2021.
Well, it just looks like these words, they've just started, and we're going to have more of them in 2022.
Trickle into
we have a whole year, or many more years to talk about them.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ladi. Yeah, I think you should just hold on there. Okay.
This is Channels Television's breaking news.
That's right, we have breaking news that the President Muhammadu Buhari, has signed the 2022 budget into law. The appropriation bill was presented to the President by the Senior Special Assistant on Senate, National Assembly, Senator Babajide Omoworare, flanked by the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, and the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed. The President signed the 17.126 trillion naira 2022 national budget into law. And of course, you can expect we have details of that in bulletins. And of course, even here on Business Morning, by next week, we'll break down that budget and find out how it concerns you and how it connects to you. But for now, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have Business Morning wearing a very different look. You want to find out? Don't miss it after the break. You're welcome back. Well, I did say that it will be a different business morning when we come back, and that's it. And so it's a full house now, starting with the head of business desk, Chimize Obiwagu, like you know as Chimi. We call her Chimi on the program.
Thank God we made it!
Yes.
We made it! Okay, well, 2021 has been a roller coaster year for everyone. And for us here on Channels Television, we are grateful to God who has seen us through the year despite the ups and downs. For us here on Business Morning, we are grateful to all our guests who have helped to make our job easier by sparing some of their time for us to feature on our programs. We say thank you to our husbands, our wives, and our children who pray each day for us as we leave the home for work. We say thank you for your support and understanding. We love you. To our chairman and vice chairman, who consistently play a father-mother role to us here. Visima, you are like a mother hen, always protecting us and making sure we are all right while doing the job. And Chairman, sir, I always describe you as a coconut, tough on the outside, but very soft in the inside. We thank you both for making us better persons on this job. We love you both. To the technical team and to my team members here, you guys are awesome. Thank you for your cooperation. Well, Ini, I mean, you just joined us this year and you've been so amazing. Thank you for being a great assistant. I have a laddie here. Unfortunately, we don't have Anyete, the men of the house. Yeah. Thank you for playing that role all through the year. Yeah. Thumbs up. And of course, my dear Will, I mean, you've shown that you can learn so fast. I mean, this is your first time talking business, but you've been wonderful. Thank you. And here goes Juliana there.
Our international connection.
Absolutely. You are great, Juliana. Thank you so much for your cooperation all through the year. It's been a wonderful year with us. And of course, I would also thank our head of presentation, Mrs. Joke Rogers. Please come in here. Well, yes, we're observing the COVID-19 protocol. Great to have you. You didn't give me much troubles this year. I don't know.
I'm not a troublemaker.
You know, I remember last year, we used to fight a lot. Oh, rostering. But this year, I think you decided to take it easy.
Yes,
you know.
I did.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So, Mrs. Rogers, I mean, you're the head of presentation, and we want you to toast for a good year as we enter into 2022. Please, everyone. I hope, Juliana, you have your own.
Oh, yeah. She does.
Okay.
Okay, so as Chimeze said, it's been a turbulent year. You know, the COVID-19 pandemic is still very much here. We're being as cautious as possible. You know, we're on-air people, so that's why you don't see us with our masks here. But as soon as we get off the sets, you can be sure that that's coming on straight away. But it's been a turbulent year. It's a year that we have to thank God that we came through. Just this morning, we had a couple of accidents on Otedola Bridge where people died. And, you know, we're here, we're alive. It's a reason to thank God that we're alive, our families are safe, and, you know, we just believe that 2022 will be a better year, a more productive year. We'll do our best to even give you even better, you know, content for 2022 in business and across all the desks here at Channels Television. You can be sure to count on us to bring you the stories first. So here's a good year ahead. good year ahead. Cheers, everybody.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, I don't know if Juliana would want to say something. Juliana, would you want to say something?
Thank you all so much. Can you hear me?
Yes,
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I would like to echo the words from our lead presentation master in chief, Joke Rogers, and also the head of the business desk, Chimaze. It has been a turbulent year, but I'm so grateful to be working with what I believe is one of the hardest working teams in channels and the hardest working teams I've ever worked with in media. It is not easy. It's not easy working on business. You know, business isn't necessarily the easiest of appeal for viewers, but I know that you give your utmost best. You make my job here so easy. So I want to thank you all so much, and thank you for being patient with us in London and really adopting us into your team. So here's to a better 2022. Thank you all, and we really love and admire you so much. Thank you.
Thank you,
Happy New Year.
Yeah, for better 2022.
Sure.
Better 2022. Okay. So that's it. A very interesting year. The ups, the downs, they all make it very colorful, and they all make it meet.
Jazz
And
and
they all
Jess, do
make
you want to
it
come in quickly?
meet and really meet in one interesting line. But we promise to be better next year. But of course, we also need your cooperation when we call you. So please come and air your view on the show. We need for you to come. Sometimes you have to go through traffic. Sometimes you have to leave your family early in the morning. Sometimes you have to leave your business transaction. But please do come, and we do appreciate you. We really do appreciate you. We appreciate all of you. We appreciate our family members. As Chimi has said, I mean, our family members are our backbones. If we have a distraction from home, then we cannot, perform very well here. And of course, to our chairman and the VC. I mean, the chairman, he can, like Jimmy said, you can think it's harsh, but I mean, at the end of the day, when he tells you to do something, you do it, you come out shining, and you at home see us shining, and you don't know it's the chairman who is making us shine. So we thank you so much. And we do love you so much, Chairman and VC. We thank you for your roles in our lives. And it's obvious. I mean, I am better than I was. I came to the business desk in February, and within a year, I can tell you, I am much, much better. Chimi beats me into shape also.
And even, sometimes it even goes beyond, work life. They ensure that you're comfortable in your family life. They ensure that everyone, anything that has to do with your family is of great concern to the management here at Channel Television. They do not joke with it. So you can be sure that we're here, we're comfortable because they love us first. And that's how it's been. That's how it's always been at Channel Television. No one is left out of this. No one at all.
And that's why we're still the best station of the year.
Yes.
We don't want to be boastful, but I mean, I'm making it 14 times.
Yes,
it's not a fluke, it's real. So that's where we draw the curtains for the program. Thank you so much for being a part of Business Morning, and of course, all of our shows. Do remember to stick it here. We give you good information, balanced news. That is what we go off for, and we're doing it better in 2022. Cheers.
Looking forward to seeing you, everyone, in the new year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone.